Hello, everyone. See, we're all starting to hop on now. Welcome to Planoly Presents Pinspirational Holidays. Please enter into the chat box where you're tuning in from. We're super excited to have you all here. Make sure to change the chat settings to panelists and attendees so everyone can see you. But yeah, please introduce yourselves. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Beautiful. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Well, my name is Peyton, and I'm the social media specialist here at Planoly. Today, we have a very special guest from the SIL, and I will be introducing her in just a bit. But before we get into it, I wanted to talk a little bit about Planoly Presents series and why we're choosing to focus on Pinterest this round. Pinterest really is such a powerful platform, especially during this time when the holidays are just around the corner. This series is really here to give you the tips and the tools to grow your brand awareness from Pinterest creators who are making waves on the most popular visual search engine on the web. If you are new to Planoly, we are a social media planning platform. You may be familiar with our Instagram planner, but you may be surprised to know that we also have a pin planner as well. Our pin planner is a great way to schedule your content out on Pinterest in a very efficient way. You can pin from anywhere using your computer or on your phone if you're on the go. One of my favorite things about the pin planner is that it's super easy to upload and schedule your pins, even weeks worth of content in just a matter of an afternoon. So if you're hesitant to join Pinterest and start on there because you're busy on other social platforms, our pin planner is really here to do all that heavy lifting for you. So if you're interested in giving the pin planner a shot, all of our plans have the pin planner. So if you're interested in trying it out for free, you will be able to use one of your Pinterest accounts and also use one of your Instagram accounts to get started. If you're interested in adding multiple accounts and also just taking advantage of our premium features, you can use our holiday code here, holiday pins, for 1 month free. So you can give that a try. That will also be pasted in the chat box for you as well. Just a few more notes before we get started. We would love to keep the chat box just for anything related to the workshop. If you don't have a question, or if you do have a question, please put them in the Q&A box so we can answer those for you at the end. If you would like to network, we have an amazing Facebook group. So we will have the Facebook group link pasted in the chat for you. So you can go there after the workshop to connect with everyone. Awesome. Well, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Awesome. All right. And we can get into it. Today we have Mercer Malikoff. She is the Digital Content Associate for the SIL. And the SIL is one of my favorite houseplant shops. Mercer leads the development and execution of digital video and content strategy across social platforms. And today she's going to be sharing her best practices for repurposing and creating new content for Pinterest that will endure beyond the holidays. So without further ado, I'm going to shut my camera off and hand it over to Mercer.
Hello. There's so many people from all over. I'm going to share my screen with everyone. Let's get started. Alrighty. All right, so welcome to Mood Board, creating clickable visual content, where, as said, we're going to talk all about making content that kind of sticks and lasts past holiday. So a quick rundown of what we're going over today. I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself. I'm going to do a little bit of Content 101. Then we're going to get into some Let's Get Some Clicks, where we're really going to focus on using the tips and tricks that I lay out to really put them into action. And then we're going to have a quick Q&A. So my name's Mercer. I am the Digital Content Associate at the SIL. As mentioned, I lead the video initiatives, but I also touch all things organic. So whether that be things that you see on our Instagram, Pinterest, you name it, I've probably somehow seen it in some way, while also doing a few things with influencer work and partnerships. So a quick thing about the SIL is all about bringing people to life and life to people through elements of biophilia, whether that be a plant or it is a grow bar in your house or dried botanicals. We're all about kind of enhancing the world around you and helping to mitigate kind of the modern condition, stress and all that through nature. And the reason why I have put together this slide about the SIL is because a lesson that we're going to learn in here is that in order to make really efficient content, it's really important to know your brand. Whether you have a short snippet in your head that you kind of go through or a mood board, it's super important. So with that little note, let's get into Content 101. We're going to start off with the simple question that everyone should be asking when you are going into making content, and that is, what are you posting? If we look over here to the right, here's a screenshot of the SIL's Pinterest. You can see that we have a lot of boards, but specifically you can see that we have best hanging plants, interior design, and so on. Each of these boards has kind of an element of or category of type of content that we post. And the way that I kind of categorize content is into 4 categories. So if you look over here on the bottom row in the middle, you'll see Plants 101. And for us, that's our help content. Obviously, lots of people have plant care questions. So that would be considered educational evergreen content. Let's say that you have a wellness brand. There's so many things that you could be doing with that, whether or not it is doing kind of a one-on-one on meditation or something like that. That would go into help content. Then you have your community content, and community content is so important because building a community around your content is going to be helping build that community. But building a community, no matter what social platform you're on, is going to be vital to keeping that content going and understanding the success of your content. So user-generated content is elements from the community. If you look to the right, we have best hanging plants, pet-friendly plants, and interior design goals. On our Pinterest, that's where we really shine with our community-generated content. Then, of course, you have 2 kind of larger projects, which are your hero content. So here we're going to be thinking about holiday. That is a major campaign. How are we going to elevate hero content on Pinterest? It's a big question, but for us, we put it all inside the SIL. Hero content is important because while you might have a major campaign that you're going to be seeing across the board, whether it's in ads and everything, you're also going to want to make sure that you're tailoring that hero content towards the Pinterest viewer. And then, of course, you have series. What is your viewer going to be coming back and seeing? What is your community going to want to be suggesting ideas for? And that's kind of your repetitive content. For us, that was our Self-Care Sunday series that we launched on IGTV and then started putting that on Pinterest as well. And I'll dive into more why video is driving the train and why it is important to utilize video on Pinterest a little bit later. Next thing, as I mentioned, knowing your brand. If you look over to the right here, you'll see that this is a very, what I like to call SIL photograph. You got your pet-friendly plant, you got, the lighting, and it's kind of all centered around this kind of element and nature in your home. Knowing that look is important for whatever you're going to be creating next, whether it's in a studio from your phone, you never know. So why is this image important? You're going to want to think about who's going to be clicking, your customers. Your customer here is obviously someone who's very into interior design, but also likes some plants and probably a dog owner. And that leads into their personality. What type of people are going to be on Pinterest that like interior design? You kind of have to get in their heads and know that. And then once you know those two things, you're going to really want to be thinking, what are they going to be clicking? What is actually going to make them stop and think? What's going to be the most effective story I can tell with this image? Now, it might not seem like this image is that deep, but every element is important. You're going to want to see that, like, obviously we're showing our product here, but we also want to give someone on Pinterest some inspiration maybe for their living room. So I've compiled a few images here from the SIL. Some are hero content, some are community content, kind of everything that we discussed. And right here, as you can see, there's a whole kind of cohesive image that you might see on our Pinterest. Everything blends together well. We know our look. We know kind of what to expect for who's going to be repinning this. So a good example here that, you know, someone who's into interior design might repin is that top right corner. Someone who maybe is, you know, just really into repinning some cute things would probably do the plants make people happy with the plant in front. And, you know, others might just repin for general inspiration. That being said, the cohesive look of everything is key, because if someone's going to go to your profile and scroll, you're going to want to make sure that everything kind of stands out while also sticking together. But the way you do that is through pre-planning. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of campaign content creation. Let's say you've already planned your holiday campaign, or you're here because you're trying to plan your holiday campaign. Either way, both are great. So here are my 10 steps that I go through when I'm creating any content. It doesn't even have to be campaign, but let's take holiday, for example. You have your pre-planning, your creation, and then launch. So for pre-planning, that's really when you're going to be looking at this above kind of mood board that you have, and you're going to really be thinking about what you're going to make. And once you think about that, you're going to go and align with your marketing team on resources. What exactly from this brainstorm is possible to make? No idea is too small. No idea is too big. Anything can work. So, but what's important is that you have a budget, as well as aligning with your marketing calendar to make sure it fits. So after that, you're going to head into setting your goals. What do you want to get out of your holiday campaign? Are you looking to get new followers? Are you looking to mainly get sales? Are you looking to get both? So setting those goals is super important, because that's going to drive the success of the content. That's how you're going to be able to tell if your content was successful or not. Finally, you have step 3, which is producer mode, budget, plan, and set down the dates. Now that you have your goals, you've aligned with your team, you're going to budget that down. You're going to plan it out, and you're going to set down those dates. You're going to make shot lists and anything that you could think of. This is really, you know, hitting the ground running. You don't have to have a huge studio in order to do this. A lot of people are able to do this just with, you know, what is around them. So that's what's important, is using planning and thinking it through, because that way you'll be able to actually produce. Finally, in the pre-planning time, we have finalized details and get ready to create. And then we head into creation time, which is my personal favorite time, which is where you're really down and you're creating everything that's going to be seen across social. And anytime you're creating anything, really consider how your audiences across all platforms, while they're all cohesive, make sure that you're considering different elements of each platform to which your content can cater to. Step 6 is always leaving room for editing and reshoots. And then step 7 is finalizing those assets. Then we go into approval for launch. After you've maybe reshot, edited, and you finalize your assets, that's when you need to go to the marketing team and be like, this is why this will perform well. This is what I believe in. This is what we've made. although like you're going to be telling them what's going to perform well, obviously earlier when you're aligning with them. But this is when you're really showing them what you were talking about. Then you're going to go into your launch. And then finally, the most important step is measuring success. You cannot keep creating content without understanding your audience and knowing what they want and what they want more of. Let's say you create a holiday campaign and it does super successful. That's super important to know for like Valentine's Day or next holiday. What's working, what's not working. Measuring the success of each piece of content that you put out is key. So taking all of that knowledge, let's get some clicks. If you look over here to the right, here we have another image that, I keep talking about this look. But you might also see this image in an ad or something of ours. What you're going to want to avoid on Pinterest, and a key element of Pinterest is not, if this image is in an ad, is not reposting it again, because while it might get some repins and clicks, the algorithm for Pinterest, the way it works is that they love fresh pins. And what I mean by that is they want fresh content. If you, let's say your Shopify is also connected, you're not going to be wanting to repost those PDP images because they're already uploaded to Pinterest. So ads and PDP images through Shopify or any other shopping account you might have connected are already going to be up in their servers. Therefore, you want to make sure that you're uploading different content. But you also might notice that this image is kind of square and it's, your regular sizing. Now, a way to really take up space is going to be if we had made this a taller image. That would have been amazing, because when you're scrolling through Pinterest, you're going to want to take up as much retail space as possible. The way Pinterest is it's a mosaic tile, and you're going to want to stand out. So tall pins and sizing your content properly is going to help you and your pin succeed. Finally, you have keywords. For any medium, captioning is your best friend. While some people love copywriting, other people might just copy and paste a caption from Instagram into Pinterest. I would highly suggest doing a fresher caption and making sure that you're really gathering those keywords and using the feature where you can use hashtags. So this is key here, because not only do images matter, but words matter, because they're filtering through the words on your feed. So looking at these two examples, on the left, we have our Plant Care 101, which is something that is year-round for us. It's our plant expert goes in there, and you're going to see that there's an original caption there. It's saved to seasonal and plants 101. So it goes into that educational evergreen content, but it also could look like it's, it could look like maybe it's an ad. The thing is that this title card is key because it will capture someone's eye, yet at the same time, videos move on Pinterest. So utilizing the video feature on Pinterest is going to be key to your holiday season this year. Whether you're posting a short reels that you made or TikTok that you made, which by the way, to take the watermark off, whether you're doing that or reposting an IGTV, it's going to be vital to keep up those eyeballs and those views. And that's because they move within the Pinterest feed, and therefore they can grasp the eye a little bit more. Whether or not someone clicks it and watches it is also important. That being said, the viewership in general, just even on the feed, will also go into your analytics, and therefore you can see so much more. But what's important here is that not only is this a video, it's also a tall pin when it's on feed. And it's something to keep in mind where, we have a holiday campaign coming up. We have this evergreen content that we have. Why don't we make it into a holiday campaign? Then if you look to the right, you see something that this is actually an ad that we have on Pinterest that you might have seen, you might see if you follow the sill. And it kind of looks like it could be a Pinterest post, although that branding of the sill at the bottom looks, kind of like an ad. But people do repin this ad. If you're going to be doing ads on Pinterest, I highly suggest making them look like content that would be on your Pinterest anyways. That being said, if you're going to be doing that, make sure that it's fresh, as I mentioned. So taking everything that we just learned, let's think about holiday. Um, you look to the right, you're going to see that Plant Care 101 that I just mentioned, and you're going to see kind of a cohesive theme um, of imagery. We have our tall plants, we have our wreaths, we have different settings. But as I mentioned, it's all cohesive. The other thing that you might notice is that none of these images look exactly the same. They just have the same feeling. That's because abundance is key, and switching up your environment to show your followers a range of inspiration is going to be getting you the most page views. Because if you have a simple feed that is just same imagery, kind of, in the same environment, that's not really bringing inspiration. And we're here to bring holiday inspiration. Finally, if you're going to be posting, a wreath or a tablescape or, decorations with ornaments, you're going to want to be focusing on your keywords there, but you're also going to be wanting to focus on more holiday keywords. So let's say you have a candle company and it's just a candle within on a table, you're going to want to maybe tag that as tablescape as well, because lots of people are looking for tablescape ideas, maybe do gift ideas. All in all, you're really going to be wanting to cater your keywords here more to holiday, and thinking about all other keywords that can help this content outlive holiday. So, for example, holiday wreath decorating, while you might tag it as holiday wreath decorating, you're also probably just going to tag it as wreath decorating. So people who make wreaths year round, they have somewhere to go. Finally, I just wanted to end with some more imagery and more inspiration, and kind of talk about the process of actually creating, which is basically something that I feel a lot of people get discouraged from. A lot of people think that you have to have a super nice camera, or you need a huge studio with lights. And at the end of the day, creating content that sticks and actually gets clicks and makes people think doesn't have to come from Hollywood's biggest movie director. It could even come from the iPhone. Nowadays, with technology rapidly changing, it's important to keep up with the trends. And iPhone photography, or Android, the lenses on these cell phones are actually amazing. And it's gotten to an extent where if you're on a tighter budget, you're going to be able to actually utilize your iPhone. And a lot of the images that you see here, at least half of them were taken on an iPhone. The rest of them were taken on a camera. So if you can which one we get in which, feel free. But that being said, I think it's important to note that the quality is still kind of that same cohesive look that you're looking for. And with that, we're going to go into Q&A.
Awesome. I loved all the visual inspiration that you provided. Like, I always get so inspired by the Sills Pinterest. We have a lot of awesome questions coming in. One that really ties into what I wanted to mention was I loved your mood boarding approach before starting your holiday campaigns or creating any campaign. When it comes to creating a campaign, whether it's holiday or evergreen, what metrics on Pinterest would you recommend our users focus on?
I would recommend looking at your monthly viewers as well as your followers pre-campaign and post-campaign. But in addition to that, when it comes to video or pins themselves, there are a lot of different metrics specifically on those pieces of content. So for example, on videos, you're going to be wanting to look at view duration, you're going to be wanting to look at views, and then you're going to want to be looking at clicks as well. View duration is important because at the end of the day, what's the purpose of making this video content if people are only going to be watching 10 seconds of it? You want to be making that video content that's actually having someone stay there, because A, there's product tags, but then B, it's important because after they watch that video, they're going to want to keep watching more, and then they're going to go to your Pinterest.
Yes, yeah, those are really good notes and tips. We're getting a lot of questions about how far in advance do you plan out your holiday content? Like, when would you start planning it?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the size of your company. Different companies do it different ways. My personal preference is to do it kind of late summer, start planning late summer, or even some companies plan it midsummer. Some people might be doing it right now, and that's completely okay. But I would suggest, if you're planning it right now, try to like have it concrete within the next week or so, just because they are coming and approaching fast. That being said, like for next year or in general, I think the sweet spot is like between like late summer,
Mhm.
um, midsummer.
Yeah, that definitely sounds about right. I remember reading a Pinterest tip saying planning your holiday stuff 3 months almost in advance. So it's definitely early planning for Pinterest,
Yeah.
which would stand out from all other social platforms. Let's see. Another question we have that's popping up a lot is it better to have just pictures, or would it be better to have text on pictures?
Really depends on your audience. I think on Pinterest, text on pictures actually tend to do really well as well. So I think there's a good middle line between each. As social media has been changing, it's been veering towards video a lot with the rise of TikTok. So that's why I think it's important to have video on Pinterest as well. That being said, with everything going on in the world, we do also have an influx of infographics and text on imagery that gives people quick and short information like within just like a few images. So I think a medium amount of both just regular photos and text on pictures is probably the good secret weapon there.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. I think having a good balance of both is always a good
Yeah.
approach. Let's see. So idea pins are kind of all the rage right now on Pinterest. I'm curious, and I think we have a few users who are also curious as well. How is the SIL utilizing this new format, and how or what tips or tricks would you give our users on how to use idea pins?
So idea pins we haven't stepped into yet. We're still kind of tinkering about it. So don't worry, in the same boat. Idea pins are new, and I think that with any new thing, the best tip and trick that I have is to test out the water first. So really think about what your first idea pin is going to be and what your first few actually are going to be, and test those out and see kind of how it works. And then from there, once you kind of dip your toes into the water, you're going to know that kind of like the whole realm of it. And I think my like major tip for things like that is to try out different types of content. So try one of the images as like plain, try a video, and then try, I believe you could do videos on idea pins.
Yes.
And then try just an infographic and see kind of what's performing better. I would assume that maybe a carousel of, you know, images and a video would do better than an infographic when it comes to idea pins. But that is what I would have to say about that.
Awesome. Those are really helpful tips and tricks. Let's see here. What do you think about repinning content from other channels onto your own boards? Is it a good way to curate your presence on Pinterest, or should you just stick to original content?
No, you should be repinning other boards as well. So the whole point of Pinterest is that it's show inspiration, but it's also to save inspiration kind of to a board. So I would suggest making your own branded boards, but in addition to that, be maybe repinning some of your branded stuff or pinning some of your branded stuff into these boards that are kind of general pins that you're seeing on your timeline, but also from other places. Now, whether you're repinning a brand or not, I would wait and you're doing a brand partnership or something. Or if it's like a friend of, like, feel free to repin them. That being said, I think the most use out of repinning that you'll get is going to be like creating boards, kind of like what we had with best hanging plants, interior design goals. There's no way we took 120 photos of interior design goals. So, and
Yeah,
everyone's interior design style is different. So it will also bring in people who might have a different approach to things, and help grow your audience even further.
that's awesome. I love that. I think it's definitely important to tie in the community, especially on Pinterest as well. So those are really good tips. Let's just looking through the rest of the questions here, making sure I hit all the good ones. Here's a question. Do you see more conversion success pinning a blog post that features products or linking directly to a product page?
That's a great question. So we do have extensive blog and resources at the SIL. What my tip here to do is kind of do a mix of both, but two different images. So I always pin, something that will link to a blog post, but then tag the product within the image. So you kind of have both, but if you don't have that ability, just do one to a blog post and make sure you're filling out that caption, but then also then pin a different one that's with a different image that will then go to the product. So I think both are important, but success wise, I would say that blog posts tend to, blogs are a great way to drive people to your site. And keeping them there because they'll start reading and then they're like, oh, like there's a product within this blog post. Maybe I need that. So highly suggest that.
Awesome. That's a really helpful tip. I noticed a question talking about hashtags, and I know that hashtags on Pinterest are kind of controversial. Like, do they work? Do they don't work? Um,
Yeah.
how would you, how do you tie in your keywords into the description if you don't use hashtags? But if you do use hashtags, how do you implement those?
Yeah. So there's, that bottom part that says tags. And like, of course, there's certain categories that you have to go into that, we all know. Or if you don't know, they're very picky about their little categories. But I suggest doing like 3 to 5 of those tags, and making sure that they're kind of different things. But if you don't want to do tags within your caption, you kind of have to wordsmith it in a way. So let's say you're going to be talking about interior design inspiration, you're going to be wanting to put that within the caption in and of itself, but make it feel a little bit more natural. So implement those words kind of into the sentence. So for a holiday campaign, saying like, holidays here, even like has that, come create holiday wreaths with us within the caption is like holiday wreaths is next to each other. So that will, you know, computers are smart. So they'll pick them up.
Yes, that's awesome. That's a really good tip. I think we have time for one more question here. Should we delete or get rid of older pins or boards, and then make newer boards to kind of update the fresh pin,
Yeah, that is a great question. So I would recommend, if like, it depends on how old the board is and if it's relevant to your brand. That being said, it can definitely be exhausting constantly making fresh content. Burnout is a thing, and it can be something that it's like, wow, do I really have to make a fresh pin in order for, you know, my Pinterest to succeed? Um, at the end of the day, you should be keeping those boards, um, because you might want to bring them back. I never really recommend deleting anything unless it doesn't really fit with your brand anymore, or else there's like a big pivot. That being said, if there are certain images that like you really don't want anymore, but maybe you're thinking about reposting, then you can definitely like delete the old pin and then repin, or create a new pin. But I would suggest going ahead and like making newer pins just because like you already have that content out there. So
Yeah, that's so true. And I love that Pinterest added archiving as an option as well.
mhm.
So you
The
don't have
archiving
to.
is
Mhm.
great. So you could go ahead and archive it, but really like creating a pen with the same image over and over again isn't gonna do too much.
Definitely. Well, awesome. These were amazing, helpful tips. Thank you so much for just sharing all of your knowledge with us today, Mercer. We are going to wrap it up now. So sorry if we didn't get to any of your questions. Again, this workshop has been recorded and it will also be sent out via email and also be uploaded on YouTube as well. So keep an eye out for that. We also have 2 more workshops in this series. So be sure to tune in next time to learn more about how you could leverage the power of Pinterest. We're excited to see you there. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye. Thank you.